Is there a place and time where logic breaks down and wonderment begins? Could that be somewhere at some time along an infinite line between the reasonable and the highly unlikely? Join us on a journey into the improbable. Makeshift Stories presents Episode 287, The Alien's Gift. Read by Kathleen Conley and Alan V. Hare, opening and closing theme by Matthew Erdman. Somewhere and sometime, the gift of knowledge might become a double-edged sword.
Hello everyone, I'm your host, Rotation 60 Captain of the interstellar arc ship Oasis Caravel on its historic journey to TRAPPIST 1. Before we get going, I have a bit of quick housekeeping to do, so please bear with me. Here's the high-level status report for mission control. Current distance from Earth, 4.753 parsecs. Average RAM scoop efficiency, 87.5%. Current density of the interstellar medium, 2.3 atoms per cubic centimeter, approximately double what was predicted. All ship systems are nominal. The usual details will be attached at the end of this stream. Now, another bit of housekeeping. The wise folks at Mission Control Public Relations felt that after 60 years, although for us, subjective time, it has only been 59, they want to, reignite interest and foster greater engagement in humanity's first interstellar journey. As a result, we'll be changing our monthly public stream to a question and answer format. Oops! I've just been informed I should be using the term Ask Me Anything. They tell me it's less formal and more approachable. Well then, new followers and Oasis Caravel enthusiasts alike, feel free to ask me anything, which I will be more than happy to attempt to answer on behalf of the crew. We want you to feel as engaged in the mission as your parents or grandparents were in the first few years after launch. Today, it looks like only a handful of people have tuned in. So if you enjoy the new format, please spread the word. Tell a friend, neighbor, or even the person beside you while you are waiting in line for your grocery rations about us. You can also support mission operations by heading over to Oasis Benefactor and making a one-time or ongoing donation. For your support, you get to send and receive personal messages from the crew, priority for your questions in the news stream, you get all the news before it goes public, and you get access to the Oasis community space. There, you'll find other people like you with a passion for space exploration. We'll also host benefactor-only sessions at the end of every stream. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what will happen, but I think it'll prove to be extremely interesting. That's a benefactor exclusive. Mission Control wants me to point out that the regular stream will continue to be free in some form or another, but if you choose to support the mission, you'll be helping to keep the connection between Earth and the Oasis Caravel alive, which makes our new Ask Me Anything stream possible. So, with that said, let's go.
Just one blast, we're gonna leave all limits, yeah. Cruise the stars for interstellar magic, yeah. Surfing gravity waves, we'll feel that cosmic breeze.
First question up is from Camille. Camille lives in Strasbourg, France, and asks, "The Oasis Caravel left 4 decades before I was born. My parents weren't that interested, and they never discussed the mission's rationale. Sure, I've read the official history, but I'd like to hear your perspective. Why spend trillions to launch a mission that hasn't and probably never will benefit the billions of us here on Earth? Were all the resources consumed to get a small elite group to TRAPPIST 1 worth it? Also, I'm curious about why anyone would want to go." Good question, Camille. It's a great place to start. I love it when I get a chance to talk about this. So, 60 years ago, it was clear that the effects of human activity, the depletion of resources, and the potential for global catastrophes were growing exponentially. I'll put it this way. Humanity was running out of space and resources, and the Earth was being pushed beyond its limits. Yes, there was asteroid mining, and that helped a bit. But in the worst-case scenario, There was nowhere else in the solar system we could live without burying ourselves meters under the surface of some ice-cold rock. There was no place but Earth where you could simply open the door and walk outside. And if Earth lost that ability, well, by expanding beyond our home planet, we were ensuring the survival of our species by mitigating the risks associated with being confined to a single celestial body. Anyway, that's the basic argument, and a good one, which I think is still relevant today. Are the lineups for basic resources getting any shorter back there? I'd also like to add that the crew and I believe journeying to another star system isn't solely about self-preservation. It's about discovery, unlocking the mysteries of the universe and pushing the boundaries of human knowledge and understanding. These are the real benefits we'll pass on, and I believe they far outweigh the initial investment in the mission. To answer the second part of your question, Camille, why would someone choose to embark on this journey? For me, it's a combination of duty, curiosity, and an unwavering belief in humanity's potential. I couldn't pass up the opportunity to be at the forefront of such an extraordinary endeavor, to pioneer new frontiers, and to leave a legacy that extends far beyond the confines of Earth. I could go on to detail specific industrial spin-offs that have already benefited the world, but I don't want to go too far into the weeds. Camille, I hope that, at least in part, I've answered your question or maybe even started to make you a fan of the mission. Our next question comes from Duri in Seoul, who asks, how long will it take you to get to TRAPPIST-1, and how are you communicating with Earth? Thanks, Duri. Those are two awesome questions. If you were paying attention at the beginning of the stream, and we hope you were, our summary report noted that the oasis is approximately 4.7 parsecs from Earth. For those of you not familiar with parsecs, that is, approximately 15.5 light-years, and it's taken us 60 years to get that far. We use a Bussard ramjet, which sucks up hydrogen from the interstellar medium with a huge magnetic field and has accelerated us to 25% light speed, and that's incredibly fast. TRAPPIST-1 is 40 light-years away, so it'll take another 100 years to go the remaining distance. We sent out small probes when the Oasis Caravel was launched, but they didn't weigh a lot, so they were able to reach 67% light speed and arrived in the TRAPPIST-1 system a year ago. Yeah, even at such an extreme velocity, the probes still took 6 decades to get there. It's a long, long way. So, how can we talk to you in near real time? That's what you were getting at in the second part of your question, right? Well, we don't really know how it works. It's all spooky action at a distance, Duri. No, seriously, we carry 2 quantum-entangled comms systems. One to communicate with Earth, and one to talk to our probes. The system allows instantaneous, asynchronous communications, a bit like text messaging. You can look quantum entanglement up if you want an in-depth explanation, which would make Einstein roll over in his grave. I'm going to move on to the next question in the queue. It just came in from Lachlan in Winnipeg and segues nicely into a discussion about the probes. Lachlan asks, what do we know about the planet TRAPPIST-1e? Weren't signs of life spotted in a spectral analysis of its atmosphere? Well, Lachlan, that analysis was one of the reasons the TRAPPIST-1 system was chosen as our destination. There are several planets in the habitable zone, but this is all common knowledge. What's exciting is the recent data about Planet E from our probes. We've got to pick a better name than E, right? Tell you what, if Mission Control agrees, we'll make it a perk of becoming an Oasis Benefactor member. Benefactors will have the opportunity to submit and vote on names for E, so if you want a chance to brand this intriguing planet, head over and join us by making a monthly contribution to the mission. Now, what I'm about to say has never been revealed until today. Remember, as a benefactor, you'll get all the exciting announcements like this one before anyone else. But I digress. The advanced probes have confirmed beyond a doubt that TRAPPIST-1e supports life. The planet's environment is somewhere between Earth and Mars. It's a bit on the cold side, and we'd have to wear a mask to concentrate the oxygen, but that's only because, currently, there's not enough plant life to push those O2 numbers higher. If we raised the overall planetary temperature just 3 degrees, we'd be walking around maskless in light winter jackets. The crew is very excited about that possibility, and that segues nicely into this next question from Hansa. Hi Hansa, thanks for listening in. Hansa is currently living in Indoor and asks, since it'll take 160 years to get to TRAPPIST-1, how do you feel about not living long enough to step foot on planet E? I'm so glad you asked that question, and I'm happy to say, barring unforeseen circumstances, I will be there when we land. You're probably wondering how that can be. Well, the Oasis Caravel is not a generation ship. We ruled out a multi-generation vessel early on in the mission design. Getting something that massive up to speed was just not practical. So what then, right? Life extension, you ask? No, we haven't had life extension treatments. They didn't exist when we launched. Instead, the Oasis Caravel is a sleeper ship. Only 5% of the crew is awake at any given time. There are 200 of us, and 10 run the ship while everyone else is in cryo-suspension. I'm currently 1 month in on a 1-year rotation. Each of us does 8 rotations, 1 every 20 years. So not only will I be there, but everyone who launched with us will be there as well, and physically we will have aged just 8 years. Plus, we only need to carry the resources to support 10 people. Let me tell you, that was a considerable saving in mass and cost. The cryo-suspension tech developed for the mission is a spin-off that benefits the world. The royalties from its licensing are one of the income streams that fund ongoing operations. A win-win. I see our first priority question, and it's from Lachlan, who just became a benefactor. Lachlan gets 6 such questions. It's just another benefit you get as a member. Priority questions jump the queue and are answered as soon as we receive them. It looks like Lachlan wants to know more about Planet E's biosphere, mainly whether it is similar to an Arctic environment and what type of life there is. Hey Lachlan, I can answer that, thanks to the data from our advanced probes. Planet E's biosphere is not quite like the Arctic because there's never any summer. It hovers around 0 Celsius all the time. Instead, imagine living on the top of a mountain high enough that you're just at the snow line. Life on Planet E has adapted to this climate. There are a few green plants, but not a lot else other than a species of small, warm-blooded animals that live among the rocks, and another that burrows underground. But that's it. For humans, it's on the edge. However, as I mentioned, it wouldn't take that much to tip it in our favor. The other rocky planets in the system are Mars analogs, with thin atmospheres and high radiation environments that are not great places to live. E, although not ideal, is our best bet. Hope that answers your question, Lachlan. Next up, Mila from Potsdam wants to know whether we carry or grow all our food. Hi Mila, that's yet another excellent question. I'm impressed. We're really getting some good ones today. I'll answer it this way. Try eating freeze-dried food for years. Just joking. Anyway, we calculated that it would take 260 kilograms of freeze-dried meals per person per year to get to TRAPPIST-1, which works out for a crew of 10 to over 500,000 kilos. That's a lot of mass to haul 40 light years. Instead, we grow most of our food. However, Oasis Caravel is not a completely closed environment, so we still carry some freeze-dried supplies, primarily spices and other things. Ship's log claims rotation 14 crew have the best cooks, but personally, I think we're up there too. Oh, I just got another priority question from Lachlan. He's really taking advantage of that member privilege. Remember, you can too if you join. He thinks I should say more about the animal life on E. He writes that you just mentioned this in passing. I would have thought that would be your headliner. Curious. Anyway, can you tell us more? I'm intrigued. Well, There's actually quite a bit of data, Lachlan, more than I can encapsulate in a single answer. To be fair to all the other people who have questions in the queue, I'm going to keep this short. Here are the high points. There are both flora and fauna on planet E, although the fauna is limited to what appear to be 2 species of herbivores. The smaller ones live primarily on the surface and graze on what hardy, lichen-like vegetation there is. A larger species builds structures similar to African termite mounds, but consistent in shape and size. They're connected by an extensive network of burrows. Using surface photos and ground-penetrating radar, we've mapped the largest of these colonies. Each covers an area of approximately 100 square kilometers. We suspect the burrows encourage the growth of some type of fungi, which could be the creature's food source. Now, before someone goes down a rabbit hole and suggests this could be a form of agriculture, I want to remind you that humans tend to find patterns in things that aren't there, so I want to tread lightly here. For example, one person on rotation 59 left notes in the ship's log arguing that the layout of the underground burrows are not random but precisely planned, based on an alien architecture we don't understand, and that some organic structures found in the burrows are, in fact, machines grown by these creatures. I don't have much to say about this other than to remind you that such an interpretation should be taken with a large grain of salt. Our rotation has only been active for a month, and we are going through the data again. The last time we were on duty was 20 years ago, 19 years before the probes arrived, so we are coming at this with fresh eyes. Shifting subjects, I have another question from Camille. Thanks for this one. It slides in here perfectly. Camille writes, how do you maintain continuity from rotation to rotation? Is there an overlap where crews do a handoff? The short answer is no. There is no overlap, which is why we can approach the probe data with new objectivity. The Oasis's life support system can't handle more than 10 active crew members. Before a rotation change, we record a handoff brief, which is augmented by the continuity of our outstanding staff at Mission Control. Handoffs haven't been a problem. We're not missing a beat between rotations, and each rotation brings fresh eyes to the problems we might encounter. Guess who just sent in another priority question? Our friend Lachlan. Lachlan, you're burning through your questions. You only get a lifetime total of 6. Hey, but if that's how you want to use them, okay. Lachlan has messaged us to go ahead, so here's his question. You mentioned, as an aside, raising E's planetary temperature by 3 degrees. Does that imply you are going to terraform the planet? If so, how are you going to do that? And what would the effect be on the existing ecology? That's a complex question, Lachlan. I'm going to rearrange it and answer the last bit first. 3 degrees would keep the surface consistently above freezing and encourage more lichen and other hardy plants to flourish. That would make the oxygen levels at the surface similar to what they are at 6,000 meters on Earth over, say, 100 years or so. That's a pretty minor increase. What that would do to the local environment is unclear. Warmer temperatures might cause existing species to migrate toward the poles, which could create a vacant niche in the ecology around the equator. Are we going to do this? Well, the handoff brief's recommendations were, let's call them vague on both a directive and method. So, I'm going to answer your question by telling you what we've discovered in the ship's logs. A couple of people on rotation 59 spotted an organic structure on the surface they thought looked like a radio dish and convinced the captain to try communicating with the mound builders. They sent a message. There's no record of a response, but we've noticed a change between rotations 59 and 60. The probes have spotted smoke in several locations. No form of combustion was previously seen. And, not unexpectedly, we have yet another question from Lachlan, his 5th. Lachlan wants to know what was in the message rotation 59 sent. This may seem odd, but I don't know. I'll have to look at the ship's log. While I do that, First Mate Kyle Vespucci will answer a second question from our friend Dury in Seoul.
Hi, this is Kyle, second mate for Rotation 60, and I'm excited to have a chance to answer a question. Dury writes, how long will it take you to slow down and go into orbit? Well, Dury, because the ship requires a crew at all times, we're limited to 1 gravity of acceleration, but the RAM scoop can only do half that, which means it'll take around 8 months. Ah, Captain DeSoto is waving at me. I think she's ready to take over again. Thanks for listening in, and I hope to be able to answer more of your questions in the future.
Hello again. This is Captain DeSoto. Lachlan, it took a bit for the ship's AI to find the specific message sent by Rotation 59, and I'd like to think that the content was less important than an acknowledgement of its receipt. After all, the chances of an alien intelligence understanding the message are pretty slim. The simple act of acknowledging our attempt at communication would have indicated a well-developed technological base, be it organic. But let me be clear. We've received no such radio signal. In light of the changes the probes have reported, I discussed the significance of the content with Mission Control. Admittedly, we have a difference of opinion. Beyond a sort of Rosetta Stone to help interpret our message, it contained scientific information, specifically an explanation of the exothermic chemical process of combustion. In plain language, Rotation 59 explained what fire is and detailed how to use it to kickstart an industrial base like ours. In the unlikely chance the alien creatures were sentient and could translate our message, I'm sure the crew on Rotation 59 thought of it as a gift and a show of generosity. Wow, the request queue is suddenly overflowing. However, I need to respond to a new benefactor's priority question. Eloy from Guatemala. Thanks for joining, Eloy. Eloy asks, isn't the smoke the probes spotted a response to the message? No. I mean, possibly. But remember, correlation does not imply causation. The sending of the message and the first appearance of combustion are 2 separate events. The one does not necessarily lead to the other. We've recently spotted smoke near the larger mound complexes, but we've only been observing the planet for a year. The fires could be caused by magma just under the surface, which periodically makes its way up through cracks, igniting lichen and grass or some other natural cycle that we haven't been observing long enough to see. Nothing is conclusive yet. I should really move on to the regular requests, but our friend Lachlan has insisted on using his last priority question. Here it is, and there are several parts to it. He writes, if the ecological balance on E is very delicate, wouldn't the new activity you are seeing now tip it over? And was that the intent all along, to offer the sentient beings on TRAPPIST 1E a new technology that would upset their environmental balance, changing it? Get the locals to terraform for you, right? So when you arrive in 100 years, E is ready for human colonization? That's the question, or rather accusation, but Mission Control is telling us we're out of time. They need to use the rest of the stream for updates and, Kyle? Mission Control appears to have ended the public session. Can you confirm?
Yes, the stream was cut. Wait, Captain, there's new data coming from the TRAPPIST-1 probes. It's a dump being transferred from the planet's surface.
Let me see, Kyle. It's in English?
No, the AI translated the content and used it to initiate an experiment in Lab 4. I think it's a way to create living organic structures out of inorganic material. Some of the stuff has already formed in the lab. The conversion is extremely fast, really, really fast. It's already gone through the test materials. It's starting to react with the containment vessel.
Kyle, override the AI. Shut the experiment down.
I can't. There was no information on how to turn the reaction off, and the AI is automatically forwarding the message to Mission Control. You can help us create new original content twice a month by heading over to ko-fi.com/makeshiftstories and making a one-time donation, or becoming an ongoing supporter at patreon.com/makeshiftstories. And if you can please leave us a review or rating wherever you're listening, it helps new listeners discover the podcast. If you'd like to connect with us, please send an email to makeshiftstories@gmail.com or visit our website at makeshiftstories.com. Makeshift Stories is released around the beginning and middle of the month. This month's episode was read by Kathleen Conley and Alan V. Hare. The story was written by Alan V. Hare. The fake podcast theme in the story was generated by Udio Beta at udio.com. Static sound effect from zapsplat.com. Mic drop sound effect from Vacada Studios. Opening and closing themes were composed and recorded by Matthew Erdman. Makeshift Stories is produced by Vacada Studios and is released under a Creative Commons non-commercial attribution, no derivative license.